Hi there, Brett Ballantini, the coolest podcast host out there, trying to still remember how to speak English. It is Sox Pop on the Farm, number 61. Yeah, we do these about once a month. You're not going to get any more than that. Do you want any more than that? We'll get to that. We are just going to talk about the system. It is month 2 of these farm podcasts. I will do a little bit of review of the stats of the system, and then we're just going to throw it to the field to talk about topics. But first, let me reintroduce you. Or if for some reason you're not into listening to the coolest podcast host out there in existence, let's introduce you for the first time to our farm staff, I guess, as it were. Thankfully, that group has swollen by 1 member, and it keeps us all from going completely insane. Frankly, I think we all are already in June going insane with the minor league workload that some editor, some cool host demands of all of us. It is Melissa Sage-Bollenbach, red eye flights, marathon coverage, bright smile here today, though still probably super sleep deprived from the East Coast trip. Thanks for making the effort and having the energy to join us, Melissa.
How could I pass this up?
Shout out to Mama Melissa there too. And Hannah Filippo, the reason why we are all not complete. We still have, though you can't tell with my dandy hat, my Southern dandy hat, we still all have hair because we have a 5th member of the crew. That is Hannah Filippo. Thank you for joining, Hannah. And I hope you are not deciding at the end of the podcast to quit. That is always your option, but it's daunting. All right. Fresh off of a podcast on another network where I'm pretty certain the topics involved, if you were thirsty enough and forced to drink a toilet bowl cleaner, which brand would you choose? It is Kristina Airdo. Thank you for joining us in the nightcap of your podcast doubleheader. I hope the voice is intact and the research is complete.
Yeah, this is the thank you for that intro, by the way. Very love it. Appreciate it. Happy to be here. I think our topics will be a lot more fun than that.
Sam, I love you. Hey, Sam worked with us for like a month. Sam being with us may have spawned all this ass casting out in the world. I mean, I'm not taking any credit, but yeah, me and Sam, we talked one-on-one for like an hour and a half. We did a Meet the Players podcast in his little basement enclave there. There was no ass flag because it didn't exist. But anyway, all right. Well, yeah, you can take that topic back for a future podcast. We just give ideas away here. And it's Super Joseph Resis, the reason we're all here. Weekly recapper for a night, monthly player of the month stuff, player of the week stuff. He's tireless. And hey, he's making his major league recap debut for Friday's game. Very kind of you to offer that, Joe. Thank you and welcome.
Of course, I'm very overdue for that. Hope the Davis Martin hype train can keep going while I'm recapping that game. And yes, pleasure to be here.
Joe, if they win, that's always a big if. You'll join me as the only recappers with a winning record this year. The records are really ugly. Somehow, I've got 2 wins in 3 games. So
I went 2-1 last year, if I recall correctly. So yes, good stuff.
Okay, Joe. All right, a little review before we get into the nuts and bolts of the system. To review Joe Resis's picks for players of the month at each affiliate. Kyle Teel. Oh, Kyle Teel! What in the world are we talking about the minor league system for the White Sox, given that the country's either burning down or just black comedy today? The White Sox split with the Detroit Tigers, the best team. Sorry, Detroit, the best team in the major leagues, and you split against the White Sox. And Kyle Teel is getting called up to the White Sox. Anyway, he was given a nice little parting gift from Joe Resis, Player of the Month, also the White Sox minor league hitter of the month, Jake Palish. Again, the White Sox are just copying Joe here. Their pitcher of the month for the system. That was Joe's AA pick in Birmingham. Mark McLaughlin, who, if I recall, had some horrible outings at the start of his professional career. It's nice to see him get on his feet. Of course, with Winston-Salem, you just have to pick a guy that's like, okay, because Winston-Salem is a team for just laying down and avoiding. Yikes.
That was the case in May for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Caleb Bonnemer at Kannapolis. Again, how in the world is he doing what he's doing? He probably shouldn't have been assigned to a full season team right out the gate. He not only was assigned, but he's been like the star at Kannapolis. That is unbelievably surprising and awesome. And in the ACL, because, Joe don't got enough to do. You sure he's going to name a guy for the ACL? Yeah, he's going to pick first baseman turned catcher, Adrian Gill. And the records, let's spin through that quickly. Charlotte, 28-31, fifth in their division, 11th overall in the International League, minus 18 run differential. Sergio Santos is just trying to work some magic there. Birmingham Barons, first place, the only team in first place in this vaunted Chicago White Sox system with a mighty record of 28-24. First place, third overall in the Southern League, very small league there, so that's third out of 8. Plus 23 run differential. Winston-Salem, worst in their league, worst in their division, 6th place, 12th place, 18-35. Yeah, they are keeping pace. I think I put this in a minor league update of mine. Keeping pace with the White Sox. Losing about 2 or 3, minus 52 run differential. Kannapolis Cannonballers, close, just like Birmingham last year. They're decent. They could be a playoff team. 28-25, second place, 5th overall in their league, plus 9 run differential. ACL is 11-11. I mean, who cares about the ACL? But let's talk about them because they're 500, and that qualifies them as like something to get excited about. 4th place in their division, 15 teams, I believe, in Arizona there. So they are right in the middle there. Of course, they're 500 team. Tied for 9th overall, minus 3 run differential. And again, sorry, who cares about Arizona? So, of course, naturally, first, all we're going to talk about in this. This is the format. Format is I'm going to pick somebody, and they're going to just come up with something to talk about. Good, bad, trends, whatever. I think I came up with 2 things. I don't prepare for any of this. This is why I'm rolling a die to determine who talks because, I haven't prepared anything. Look, I'm out. I got nothing. I got a hat. Cool. Okay, this means Joe Resis leads off with the first pick in our Talk About the System draft. Who you want to talk about, Joe? Or what do you want to talk about?
Can we start off by going with the hot button issue of Kyle Teel?
Hey, take it off the board and make everybody else leave the podcast. No sweat. Yeah, sure. What do you want to tell me about Kyle Teel? This guy who, I don't know, is coming up to the majors. We're going to have 3, 4, 5, 6 catchers.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting mix there. Edgar Caro, of course, got off to a hot start. He's cooled off a bit recently. It'll be interesting to follow Teal's trajectory, but he's was hitting it very, very well in Charlotte pretty consistently. He really was a big part. I mean, every part of the Garrett Crochet trade has been a major one so far. It has really been nice to see him already making these major strides early on. I mean, he kind of was okay with the Boston's AAA team before the trade. Like, he was crushing it in AA last year, earned a promotion, and kind of had mixed results in AAA, but it's almost difficult for me to believe that the White Sox they've gotten better results from Teel than the Red Sox did. Granted, it's still very early on, but I kind of, in terms of evaluating, return players of that major trade, Teel was kind of one that I didn't have that high of hopes for. Like, I felt like I was lower on him than the average person was. That was mainly due to the White Sox being the team to take him. But, I will say, like, he's done about as much as he can do in the first 2 months to kind of ease the fear that I had for him. It's been great to see. And he was definitely deserving of being promoted. Had that 886 OPS with the Knights at a very premium position, and it really things are going very well for him, and I think they will continue going well. I'm eager to see kind of how that playing time gets balanced between Lee, Caro, and now Teel, but it'll be good to see though.
So you get the inner workings when you listen to these podcasts or watch, or of course when you read our work at Sox Populi and South Side Sox. You get a little glimpse into the inner workings of Joe Resis. Whether he's going to go thumbs up or thumbs down on a prospects, did we trade them away? That's probably trending up. Did we take them in from trade? That's going to be a thumbs down. I mean, it's a real easy system. It's almost like a coin flip, but I mean, it's also sort of tried and true, Joe. So that's clever. I mean, I don't want to betray your system. I know there's like a lot of math involved there, but yeah. So there you go. That's my system too, and I'm not nearly as smart as Joe. That's my system too. Do the White Sox acquire them? Okay, yeah. Teal's coming up. Other thoughts on that's pretty big news. That's exciting news.
Yeah, my thing. Well, we did at the same time, naturally. My thing with the Teel, like bringing him up is, I mean, Joe touched on this too, like, and you even did at the beginning, Brett. Like, what are we doing now with all these guys? There's 3 catchers that are going to be up. Like, if Corey Lee is staying up and Edgar Caro is staying up, then I just it's a lot of question marks as to who's going to go where. Elko is here now playing first base, so like. One of them doesn't necessarily need to play first base. I don't know. It just is a really interesting situation to have too many catchers. It's not necessarily something we're used to either, but I don't know. I'm excited for him to come up because like his numbers are fantastic. And I mean, get the reps in, this is the team of the season to do it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious to see how they're going to structure the lineup. And I'm sure I'll have a lot of complaints about it.
We're going to make sure to get everybody in on this top, Joe took the number 1 pick here. So, I mean, I'm guessing everyone else we talk about, we're not going to necessarily have to weigh in on everyone, but certainly Melissa and Hannah, your thoughts on Kyle coming.
I'm just looking forward to the videos. That's my favorite part is when they post the videos, when they tell the player that, they've been promoted, because that's my favorite part.
They're going to have to start messing with that a little bit because, the format of like, okay, I got to go talk to them. I mean, I'm sure they're not like talking post game every game. So, I mean, at some point it's like, oh, I got to go talk to Sergio. Well, you know what's coming. So you're going to have to like try to sneak up on like do it at dinner once or, do it on the team bus or something because.
Mix it up.
Yeah. Otherwise, Keel's going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm going. Cool. It won't be anything, tear jerking or like take 2, take 3. Hannah, you've been sort of champing at the bit for Kyle to come up, sort of from the start. I think he's sort of one of your guys. So this is probably a good day for you.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm curious because I was doing some research and his improvement in May of slashing 333, 444, 613 is much better than April. He was a lot streakier in April. So it makes me wonder what he's going to do when he comes up. I wonder if he'll kind of split the difference between those stats in those months and just kind of settle for maybe not as much of a hot start, but somewhere just like serviceable enough. Yeah, is what my guess would be. But I'll be very curious to see what he does. And I think it is worth promoting, even if he was just hot 1 month, just to see how he does.
Yeah, I was going to say he's proven his mettle because he was so hot out the gate, like first 2 weeks or whatever it was. He was bananas, and we're all like, get him up here now. And I'm sure on these podcasts we're like yelling and screaming at Chris Getz, which is that's a good default. Like with Joe and his thumbs up, thumbs down, it's just a good default position to take when it comes to Chris Getz. Yell and scream, and not in a happy way. But then he slumped. There was a game, I think I wrote up, they stole like 10 bases on him. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with the pitcher and stuff. I mean, he was like 0 for 10, I think, a game. There were some rough spots for the guy who was like coronated the minute, I was with you, Joe, like, he got brought into this organization. Suddenly Edgar Carroll was like, oh yeah, who's that guy? Well, I hope he can play right field or something. It's like, well, hold on, wait a minute. This guy's at least the equal. And, as we saw out of the gate, he got the first call up. It's going to be interesting to see these two progress, hopefully 10, 12 years with the White Sox. I guess we'll see. But him bouncing back from that real adversity, because he was trashed there for a while, and now he's back to just being a killer. He had that long on-base streak, I think a little hitting streak, a long on-base streak. That's what you want to see. I mean, both of these catchers get on base. I know Edgar's, struggling some, but both these catchers. All right, I already rolled, because I can multitask, and what do I have to add to any of these podcasts? The roll's already been made, and Katina, you are up. What's our topic?
Charlotte's pitching is my top. It's horrible. If you were wondering, spoiler. So the last 2 weeks, I think they were like 6 and 8 in the last couple series or whatever, or from yesterday to the 20th of May. They're leading offensively in like all or most categories, I should say, like 887 OPS, 76 RBIs. And this is like in the league, not just like it's like second in homers, doubles, and they're great. But the pitching, 6.26 ERA, dead last, horrible, just horrible. They score a ton of runs. Third OPS on the whole season, third best OPS, excuse me. But they just lose games because they constantly are blowing them. It's unbelievable how bad they are. They also have the most walks in the league with 73, which is really high they're just constantly walking people. And every time I'm writing up, something where like late in the game, a pitcher is coming in and all of a sudden the bases are loaded and we walk in a run or two and, 3 walks lead to 4 runs. It's just like crazy, how it is. And I don't know. I mean, the offense, I don't really have many complaints. Like there's a lot of guys down there that can hit right now, which is an interesting situation for this organization and for Charlotte, even for the last few years. But yeah, that's a big question mark for me, because it's like we call guys up that are injured up here, but there's no one to call on because, they're either in Birmingham or they're up already. So it's yikes, because they should be way better. Their record should be way better. They leads all the time. So. And then you have like Birmingham on the other hand, where they're like winning those close games a lot of the time. So it's like, I don't know, it's brutal.
And acknowledging that I'm going to just call it Charlotte Ballpark because I don't like using the corporate names. That's sort of ugly. Sorry. Sorry, Wrigley Field. But notorious hitters parks. That's where pitchers go to die and where hitters go to make it seem like they're a lot better than they are. And then they come to Chicago and it's like, oh yeah, that's what you are. But even acknowledging that, it is grisly. So the broader or the subhead to this this topic is, along with what Kristina mentioned about just how god awful they've been, is just the fact that this team year after year, Honda gets really can, as much as they try, and I know it's not just as easy as doing it this way, just cannot get legit arms, really even probably 4A arms, but cannot get legit arms into the system, into the upper reaches of the system, to the point where we're running out like Bryce Wilson for multiple starts or bullpen games when we just can't call up a legitimate arm, any arm, much less a guy's like, oh, wow, he's pitched a little better than we thought, Justin Dunn or something. Oh, wow, he's had a nice couple starts. Let's bring him up, for that start to fill in. The White Sox haven't been able to do that for, forever. So that's maybe a broader look at it too. But you 3 others, what thoughts can you have about Charlotte's pitching other than, you get the barf bag, but thoughts on Charlotte's pitching without a barf bag?
Well, it's funny because when I was like making my notes on like the nights, like what to talk about. Yeah, they're hitting. It's not a problem, but I wrote down Chase Plymell because he has had a little bit of a good stretch going. But then tonight he was bad. So it's like, just when you think, well, I don't know, maybe this guy isn't looking so bad. But we'll give the other piece of the crochet trade, the Winkleman Gonzalez. People always want to say Winkleman, I think, but it's Winkleman. He has been doing well since being promoted up from the Barons to the Knights. Now, will that sustain itself? I think so far it's only 9 games. But, you know, he's got like a 2.7 ERA and he's only 23. So, you know, unlike some of these people like Plymel, who I mentioned is 27, Gonzalez is actually a young guy who looks like he could be maybe something.
Well, he was like 5-0 or 6-0 or something, and we all know that wins and losses is the stat that matters. Joe will back me up on this. So, yeah, he should be up with the team already. I mean, he's vulturing wins left and right. He falls down and he gets a win. It's awesome. I want to be that guy. That's awesome. Unless Joe and Hannah, you have thoughts on. Oh yeah, please. Yeah.
I was just going to piggyback back on the reliever issue. I mean, I was looking at they added 3, now 4 as of yesterday, 4 relievers claimed them off waivers. Well, they lost Miguel Castro in his very brief appearance, but I mean that just shows the issue that they don't have any relievers coming up for a bit, or they're not serviceable enough to come up. And I mean, Peyton Pallette is another one to mention that he's actually done pretty well in his 5 2/3 innings after being promoted, but they really don't have much reliever help coming from anywhere, unfortunately. So it just shows that that feeds directly into the Sox too, and that's where they are down bad for their bullpen as well.
Yeah. The neat thing about what you said, Hannah, is you could replace reliever with starter and it would still apply because they got nothing. Joe, I don't want to cheat you, but you can also pass around if you don't feel like you need to add something insightful to the Charlotte pitching dilemma.
All right. Well, one thing that made me happy about the Charlotte pitching staff in the month of May is that they made it very easy for me to not choose one of them. Sometimes it's a very tough decision for player of the month. Like if there's a batter who had a really good month and also a pitcher who did, I'm like, I don't know who made a more positive impact. Yeah, no one was even close in May for that. But I will give a bit of a shout out to Chris Rodriguez. He's got a little bit of a streak going, 11 straight scoreless innings in a row. He is doing pretty well. And it's kind of odd. He made a brief major league appearance 4 years ago and hasn't been back to the majors since then. He's only 26. I feel like I was if they were going to promote someone to Chicago from the pitching staff, I'm kind of surprised it wasn't him. I know, Owen White got the call. And personally, I would have given it to Rodriguez. And White has been very cold. And maybe he'll surprise us. But I personally would have more faith in Rodriguez at this current point in time. Really, besides, what is it? Sorry. Plymel, as Melissa mentioned, really the only person who pitched more than 5 innings in May deserving of any sort of a shout out would be Rodriguez, I think.
Okay. This podcast is all about issuing guarantees, so I'm going to issue a guarantee you'll never again hear the words shout out to Chris Rodriguez. So enjoy it, Chris. Joe Resis thinks you should be in the major leagues, but keep it up because they're going to need more arms. They got to get them from somewhere. I guess they got to get him from Charlotte. Whew. For those of you who think they're not going to be knocking on the door of 120 wins, sorry to spoil it. I know they just split with the best team in the universe. Okay, anyhow, roll the dice again. Multitasking here. It goes to Hannah Filippo for the next topic on the system. Maybe we should stay out of Charlotte.
You said stay out of, or
you can come back to it, but I mean we're 2 for 2 with Charlotte, and Charlotte's all right. But, I like Teel, myself, not Kyle Teel, the color Teel. But, okay, yeah. What's up, Hannah?
Yeah, we'll switch it up. We'll look at the only winning team right now, which is Birmingham. They've got quite a bit going on. The one thing I am a bit concerned about is actually Hagen Smith. Not to rain on that parade. But
Yeah.
Hagen Smith has not pitched in like 2 weeks, and there's still no. They said that he'd be stretching and tossing late last week, and there's still no sign or update. So that's a bit concerning to see. Although they got plenty of other good pitchers. They have Jake Polish, as we mentioned. He got his nod up, but or no, he didn't get his nod up. But his transition from the bullpen to the rotation has gone really well for him. And Grant Taylor too has done really well in May. So they're doing well for now, and I think without Hagen Smith they'll be fine. But it's still worrisome to see that update.
Yeah, I saw the thing about Hagen Smith, like he's developmental league, they're trying to, they're tweaking him. It's like, and people were acting alarmed by it. And I thought, no, this is just something you do. But then there were reports that he had like maybe a little sore elbow or so. I was like, oh, well, okay. It's not as simple as just, we're making him better. It's, now we got to patch him and hopefully make him better. Yeah. I mean, you wonder when and if, you're going to see him again or anytime soon. Okay, Birmingham pitching is a topic on the board. I guess it could be specifically Hagen Smith. We could also, well, all right, let's not necessarily broaden it too much. We got to make like 7 more picks. I guess thoughts on Birmingham pitching, specifically Smith and his developmental league / icing the elbow thing. I mean, that's a pretty specific topic. You don't have to jump on it.
Just I'm the same. worried that he's going to have an injury like every other White Sox pitcher in the history of the land.
Yeah. Melissa, you're up next. I consult the notes. I know you got like 5, you got 50. You got a list of 50.
Last but certainly not least, right? So we, kind of been dunking on the Dash a little bit because, well, they're bad. But they do have a pitcher who's been doing really well. So that is encouraging. And I feel like I don't really hear his name a lot when folks are talking about the minors, and that's Lucas Gordon. Poor guy is 1-6 because his offense doesn't score any runs for him. But he, he's pitched over 50 innings and he has a 3.21 ERA. So to me, that's pretty impressive, especially when we're talking about White Sox pitching. So I would like to give a shout out to Lucas there for hanging in there. I mean, it's got to be discouraging to lose all those games when you're actually pitching really well and giving up like 1 run and your team can't even score you 1 run, which sounds kind of like a familiar script. So he might fit real well in Chicago right now. But that makes me happy when I get to see him doing well in the when we're doing our recaps. And again, he's only 23 too, so he's young. And
plus, Melissa, his record is awfully similar to your recap record, right? I mean, yours is worse, but I mean, 1 in 10 or something. So I mean, and your ERA is better. So yeah, I mean, kinship there.
Yeah,
you're not a southpaw though, are you?
No, I'm not.
You're ready.
I'm definitely not.
So hey, perfect hard luck combination right here. Melissa Sage-Bollenbach and Lucas Gordon. Yeah, here's how I'd like to broaden this to everyone else to weigh in. He's been nails since he joined the system. I was a 5th or 6th round pick. I mean, not a nothing pick, but a senior. So I think that's sort of like a money saving pick. But he's been great, and he hasn't moved above high A. And I would think at some point you start to get a message of what the organization thinks about you. So I'm curious to know what your thoughts. I mean, take it wherever you will, but this seems to be a guy that the White Sox are not exactly so jazzed about that they're going to get him up into Birmingham. Other pitchers equal to or maybe lesser than have made it to Birmingham while Lucas still sits in stews. He's going on now a year and a third pitching there, I think, or at least a full year pitching there. That's got to be a bummer, stats aside. Thoughts on messages, Delta players when they're, not advanced aggressively like that?
Yeah, to 60 Ks, I don't know. Like, what?
He pitched in the SEC. He's not a guy like, who, whatever, pitched in France. Sorry, Matthias Lacombe or whatever. But I mean, come on, this is SEC for the Longhorns. I mean, that's not nothing. So yeah, what do the White Sox know that they're like just sort of key? Are they protecting him? Are they got too many lefties now? I mean, I'm a little perplexed. So. Or am I just deciding to make a controversial topic here in the middle, wearing a goofy hat in the middle of a Sox Farm podcast? Or is there something to the fact that, some guys don't get moved as aggressively as maybe they should be?
I was looking at him earlier, and Melissa had brought up like the dash pitching was one of my topics too, because Tanner McDougal's also been doing really great. But Luke Gordon is another one that I've just been wondering and like kind of perplexed. I don't know why he's not really moving up. I mean, his walk rate's not outrageous. I would say it's like 7.9%. And yeah, Melissa called it out. He has 60 Ks. That's tied for the most on the dash. And I just don't really get it. Like you said, why not? His FIP is also 4.22. That's pretty good. So like, if you factor out all of the defense or anything else behind him, like not bad, I would say. So it's just, I don't really get it. Like, you're right. What are they seeing? Is there something we don't know? I mean, why are you not trying to progress, a lefty that has a low ERA? His minors career is low ERA. It's like in the twos. Like, I don't get that.
Sox
are the Barons so stacked? Like, I don't feel like that's the case. Like, there isn't room.
That's what I'm looking at right now. I'm trying to see from their pitching depth if they could bump someone.
I mean,
it's
there's
hard
a lot of
but there's no like easy person to kick out either. So they're in kind of a logjam with their pitching, but also if they really wanted to, they could figure out a way.
Exactly, because they've already moved plenty of guys up.
Mm-hmm.
White Sox, Sox Populi All-Star, number 49 prospect from South Side Sox. Come on, let's make something happen. We're on this guy. Maybe that's the reason. Sorry, Lucas. We're hot on you. That means you get the cold shoulder from the White Sox. We love you, White Sox. Maybe. Okay. Well, before the break, I'll just take my pick, and I'll use my lesser one, the one that didn't involve much research. But this involved addition. I added up the wins and losses for all the full season, and they're 102 and 115. And I know that doesn't matter. We talk about this a lot. I think it matters more than people want to say it matters. You're supposed to win games. This is supposed to be a great system. It's not a great system. It's great if Noah Schultz comes up to the majors next year and is an all-star. We sort of expect that, right? Or the Hagen Smith, recovers fine. I mean, he's pitching arguably, I think, better than Schultz, although I think recently Schultz has really started to come on. And Joe called Noah out, last podcast. So, I'm not giving you any breaking news here, but there are no bats. Kyle Teel's up now. That's it for the bats. I think the rest of the year, that's it for the bats. So I'm just perplexed as how this could be such a great system. Is this just wish casting? Then why are all the other evaluators still, and this isn't just a bunch of White Sox sites and the White Sox themselves, pimping their system. I mean, this is across baseball. It gets a very generous assessment, and I'm just a little bit curious about that. I know it's not about wins and losses, but for me, it has to be a factor, and I don't like it. Thoughts on this overall system before we head to break and start round two?
Great minds think alike, Brett, because I also have that one.
You did the math too? Oh my God, that's a lot of addition going on.
But like you were saying, it's not just us and CHGO and whatever. It's ESPN ranked them number 2, Baseball America number 4, Fangraphs 4, and Bleacher Report 3.
I didn't even know it was that good. Are you serious?
Yes, and so I'm like, I don't know either, because we literally, the 5 of us, write about it 6 days a week, and poor Joe more than that. So wow. Yeah, I mean, the Barons are a little above average. The Ballers are a little above average, but how is 2 teams a little above average? I think one site said, oh, well, you have 5, what they would consider tier 1 prospects, but certainly other teams have to have that too, because there are 100 top prospects. So I don't know. To me, it doesn't. The math ain't mathin', and somebody's paying somebody because there are players that you can handpick, but overall, it's
so aggravating. It is so aggravating to have to know that this is this discrepancy or this contradiction. It drives me bonkers. But I've spoken enough on it. Other thoughts about? Can someone calm me and Melissa down? The old heads
I think those sites and people that are looking at it are looking at from such a high level of just the top prospects and like the individual talents. There's a lot of individual talent. And like we even just looking at Charlotte as a whole, like we just touched on it, like there's a couple people that will, like the outliers are kind of dragging down the overall performance, in my opinion. Like if you're leading games and then you blow 15 of them or 20 of them, like they're right there are some of your wins that you're not looking at. So it's like, you know, anything can happen in that situation in baseball. I think they're really just looking at like, we have 7 of the top 5 of the 7, I don't know how many it is, top 100. And like, that's what they're looking at. But I agree with you. We're not winning the games, and really there's only one team that is. So yeah, but I don't think it's anything. I don't think the overall record of the program or organization is like anything to hold your hat against, like too hard. I mean, we're trying to get and complete and fill the holes in the major leagues. And like, if those are there and it works, then it's a success. But yeah, I agree. Like if they're not winning games, like all the time, I remember they just, like it doesn't look good. So I see your point.
I'm not asking to be the Rays where every level wins a division, but the White Sox don't win anything. It's like, well, I mean, you know, other teams can do it. I mean, you're right to preach a little bit of sanity here, Kristina, where it's like, okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And as usual, the White Sox, even going back to the Ken Williams era, you know, they suck players, you know, out of the system, you know, who are worth anything. And that was the big pride for Rick Hahn, right? Like, you know, we've got more of our first round picks or more of our draft picks in the majors than any other team right now. You know, meanwhile, you know, the system is 300 games under 500. But, you know, you're right. That does gut the talent. Sure. I mean, Edgar Carroll be making Charlotte really good right now if the White Sox had like real major league catchers instead of taking anyone who can breathe, who can walk and chew gum at the same time up to the majors. Sorry, Tim Elko. Sorry, Edgar. Sorry, Teel. That's sort of insulting, but you get the point. All right, Joe, you're a math guy. Tell me I'm dumb, and Melissa, just say it nicer to her, but for being concerned about this.
Oh no, not at all. I understand the concern, absolutely. I really did think that the Knights were going to have, in particular, they would have a better record than this. I thought they'd be over 500 rather easily, and they really should be. And really, we touched on it, earlier, but if not for a pitching staff that was performing horribly, they would be there. Simply a mediocre pitching staff would have the Knights well above 500 with how many good hitters they have. Now, in terms of just the strength of their top 10 prospects, we'll just call it, like, I would take the White Sox top 10 prospects over most teams. I don't think I would have them at third, but they would be up there, I think. In terms of that, lackluster pitching staff in Charlotte, with how well the Birmingham pitching staff is doing, it's not because there's no talent in the system. It's just that they haven't promoted them. With that, I do echo the comment about Lucas Gordon deserving a promotion as well. He's I think done enough time in Winston-Salem and has performed well enough to earn it at this point. I would also agree. I don't take the win-loss records of each individual team too seriously when evaluating the farm. A lot of those team rankings are very forward-looking and weighted towards how people think that top echelon of each farm system is going to perform in the future. But I would agree, they even with to begin the season, no one was really saying that the Knights pitching staff would be the crown jewel of the system. It wasn't they had a bunch of top pitching prospects starting the year there. Even with that, though, I do agree that they should be getting more production out of those players, though.
Yeah. Joe has to say the win-loss record doesn't really matter because he's closest to Winston-Salem, and you've suffered through a couple tough years, Joe. You probably suffered through when is it? I don't know. When has it not been? They haven't made the playoffs in the time I've been doing South Side Sox and getting close to this system. Let's take a quick break, and we'll do I don't know, a rapid fire or a not rapid fire second round of discussion of the system. Hang with us for a minute or so, and we'll be back. White Sox fans, I'm wearing a hat. No one else is. They didn't get the memo. But maybe you're not watching. Maybe you're just listening. So just hear the hat in my voice. Sox Pop on the Farm, number 61. We're looking back on May. It's sort of our monthly podcast. Joe Resis, you probably read his article. If you haven't, get in the habit of it. His monthly honorees, one of which took the honor so seriously, the White Sox decided to read that article and call Kyle Teel. Kyle Teel. That's what his name is. Kyle Teel. He was wearing teal at Charlotte Knights. Up to the major leagues. That's how serious they take Joe Resis's words. And the good news for Joe Resis is the dice have been rolled and he leads off round 2 with the topic. You can't pick Kyle Teel or Kyle whoever he is, whatever I said he was. So what's it going to be?
I have to say, I made it the entire podcast last month, and so far a bunch of this podcast this month without mentioning Samuel Zavala, and I feel like I'm obligated to do this. Yes, we are due for an update on him.
Okay, how's he doing, Joe?
Yes. Okay, so overall, looking at the big picture of his season so far,
sure.
A lot of the same stuff from last year, which is that he's very athletic. He makes good plays in the outfield. He is a very patient hitter, draws a lot of walks, just doesn't quite make sharp contact as often as he could. And, certainly when the Dylan Cease trade was made, they were expecting a lot more firepower from his bats than they have gotten. And that's just been a big hurdle so far. April was a nightmare for him. May was decent, still nothing special. But it was a step in the right direction, at least compared to April. I will say, he was a good base stealer last year, but he's only, attempted 3 and 2 of those were unsuccessful this year. So that's been another bit of a disappointment. But the main thing is the bat to ball sort of thing. Just not doing that nearly as much as I would like. I will say in June, he's having a very good week. 7 for 13 with 3 walks. I mean, he's a front runner right now for his first weekly award of the season. So I have that to hopefully look forward to. Of course, now that I say that, he'll probably go 0 for 12 in the next 3 days. But hopefully not. I will say, he fell really hard outside of even the White Sox top 30 on MLB Pipeline, which I thought was a little bit extreme, considering he started the beginning of last year at number 6 in those rankings. And that was, granted, a disappointing year. I didn't think it was quite, disappointing enough to where a 20-year-old would fall from near the top of those rankings to outside of them entirely. But again, still needing sharp contact from him. I'm still a believer, but a little bit more cautiously believing now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think the possibilities are still there, though.
He tumbled to 28 in our top picks, not helped by one voter named Brett something, who ranked him 68th. Send your hate mail to that guy, Joe. Okay, Joe. We're not going to round robin this one because you are our one and only source for all things Zavala. So of course I'll need to know, what random foreign country is older brother in spirit Sebi Zavala playing in right now? Is he playing in a Middle East league, or is he playing in Mexico? Is he in the major leagues?
He is partying like it's 2021. He's the backup for Yasmani Grandal in the Red Sox AAA.
Oh, the graveyard of
No way.
contention.
Oh, brutal. Oh my gosh.
He's probably
Yeah.
like wanting to die right now.
You want to talk about the brochure that sums up the window of contention of the 2020s for the Chicago White Sox? It's Sebi Zavala backing up Yasmani Grandal in AAA in 2025, not 2035, 2025. Okay, that takes care of it. There will be no other input from the rest of our panel. I think we have our fill of Zavala for this month, at least. Next month, leading candidate for June Player of the Month at High A, Samuel Zavala. Next up is Kristina Airdo. What is your second and final topic for this podcast?
Let's see. We can actually go to Kannapolis.
Okay.
Yeah, just a couple guys down there that have been really impressive, I would say, all year. Like you touched on Caleb Bonnemer, but he's been really great. I feel like every time I'm writing a recap, he's like in the MVP category, going in the polls and stuff. So definitely been a difference maker. He's like driving most of the RBIs, which is awesome. Javier Magallan has been really interesting too. He's someone that I just been interested in over the last couple of years, and I mean 934 OPS on the season is pretty solid. So I can't be upset about that. But one thing that's I've noticed, Braden Montgomery, I think, is slumping a little bit. I don't know if we've touched on this, but I mean, yeah, not having a great week, that's for sure. But in general, I think Kannapolis just has a lot of fun pieces. So I just kind of wanted to touch on them a little bit. Grant Umberger as a pitcher is also someone that I've been keeping an eye on. He's had a really great, I think, last few weeks as well. And, his ERA is crazy low. So there's definitely some fun pieces down, some guys that are making some things happen in Kannapolis, and they have a lot of good offense. Our friend Sam Antonacci, though, he's been injured, sadly, but he's raking down there, and I love it. He was actually raking in the ACL too, even though he was injured.
Yeah, the White Sox have this strange thing. I don't think it really adds up to anything. It's not like these guys make the majors, but they pick guys off the street, like day labor, stop. They're like, hey, jump in the back of this pickup, Umberger. We don't know your first name. And then he rocks for 3, 4, 5 starts. I mean, what crazy stories. I mean, this weird undrafted free agent, action, particularly with the arms. They got a little strange touch. It doesn't really pay off too much, I don't think, but I guess it's bound to at some point. More thoughts, I guess, on Canny, not to broaden it too much, but other thoughts on our Cannonballer crew?
Our big guy, George Walco, has been heating up a little bit in June. So he had a home run tonight. So maybe he just had trouble getting started, and hopefully he'll keep it going. I think he's hitting 400 so far in the games in June, which obviously we only have a handful of them, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is so strong. It's just, you watch him hit these home runs, and it's just he barely swings the bat, and it's just crazy. So
the phenomenon, let me pull it away from broad Kannapolis. Bonnemer, I mean, I don't think it's crazy to say it was a little bit of a surprise he was starting opening day full season ball. White Sox, teams tend to protect guys, high schoolers. This guy played in Michigan. He's not like he played 8,000 games in Florida. He played in Michigan. I know he was the state player of the year, I think, a couple of years. So I mean, he's okay, the best player in Michigan. He played 25 games or whatever. You got the West Caths, second round draft choice. The White Sox said would take first if Colson Montgomery hadn't been on board. Lord help us. And Colson Montgomery himself. And, you know, similar profiles or, you know, similar backgrounds, prep infielders. You know, Caleb has just gotten off to such a fast start, probably a better stretch of these, 2 months, 6 weeks than West Cath has ever had. I mean, I know we're just spitting in the wind here, but I mean, it's just strange to me how some guys can sort of like get it, which we've cursed Caleb Bonham for the rest of the season and for his career probably, but we just get it from the ground floor, and you know, maybe some guys who don't. I don't know. I guess that was just a dumb sidebar, but thoughts about that or Kannapolis?
Just to build on Kannapolis, I had all the guys, Kristina, you had written down. The other one too, that's been slumping a bit. That slumped a bit in May. Was Lyle Miller Green, surprisingly. But just looking at his stats, like he had 15 RBIs, 16 walks. He's even though he had a 171 batting average, it showed that even if he didn't see the ball well, he still made an impact when he got on base. So it was interesting when I've been doing these write-ups to see that his contributions have decreased over in May compared to April, but he's still doing damage when he actually does make contact. So
any of these throwaway type guys who you'd consider maybe anywhere outside of maybe top 5 picks type of thing. I mean, that's harsh, but the guys you don't expect, house money, to be doing anything, even for a short period of time. The fact that guy's got wheels, guy's got a power stroke, the guy's sort of doing a George Wilco with, you know, maybe better than George, although he's a few years older, so I guess he should be. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's good to see because, you know, some of these guys can cash in. I mean, they're not all just Danny Mendick's, you know, and hey, you're not going to argue about Danny Mendick. I mean, he made to the majors, made an impact. Other organizations actually took him to play, at least for a year. Melissa, you're up next, and I know it's hard to choose because you still got probably 43 topics on the list, but.
Well, I feel like this is a guy that we should always talk about too, because is Riku Nishida. Like, what the heck? Like, I just really, really, really want him to see him like up at the big league level, because I just think he'd be so fun to watch, and a good guy to have in the clubhouse and stuff. I mean, his on base percentage is just always so crazy high, that he finds a way, like kind of like the Chase Meidroth thing. Like, he finds a way to get on base, and like we need those guys to get on base so that, you know, the few people that we have that can hit can drive them home. So I just think that he's just a fun player to have in our system, and was glad to see that he's third in the Southern League in OBP. That's not nothing. I mean, that's a tough league to begin with. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we are official huge endorsers of Riku Nishida, and love the fact that he's a guy who started out his cup of coffee after the draft was like, oh, okay. And then last year, and you know, this year's been all right. I mean, I'd love to see him have the same jump that he took a year ago, which would mean he'd be like in the major leagues, but he's acquitting himself pretty well. It was 114 WRC plus. I mean, he's holding his own, not striking out, not hitting the balls into the gap at all, even with his speed, but hey, 24.
Yeah. I really like him as well. I am definitely rooting for him. Yeah, he is a very interesting player. He would probably, his power would probably be rated the minimum, you know, the 20 out of 80, but other than that, there are a lot of green flags there. The ability to, you know, hit for extra bases is almost non-existent, but he's finding ways to contribute. He's playing good defense at second base, and more importantly, getting on base at a very high rate. Like, that's very important stuff. And with a lot of players, and I feel like this happens more within the White Sox organization than others, is they show signs of life in high A. They get to double A, and they hit a wall.
There's a wall. Yep.
Yeah, that hasn't happened there for him. And that's very good to see. I think the Chase Mydroff comparison is a good one, and I feel like that is probably among the best case scenarios for Nishida. I hope he gets there, though. I think he's definitely been a bright spot for the Barons. And just actually Wednesday night, 2 outfield assists, by the way. That was really cool. So yeah, very well-rounded player, finds ways to get things done despite not having any power, and I have to respect that a lot.
He's pesky. He's irritating, but delightful. I mean, he's quite a character too. But boy, if you're facing him, he's gonna irritate the hell out of you. I'm up. Sorry, Hannah. That means you get to go last. I'll be quick. I just want to check in on the Garrett Crochet trade. He's 2.7 WAR just by WAR lens. I know it doesn't matter. And with minor leaguers, we're really, really winging the WAR, but you can still estimate it to some degree. And I think what's important, though, you're supposed to have players when it's 4 for 1, they're supposed to add up to more, WAR or more production than the one player given away or traded away, right? That's a given, but it's impressive that all 4 players are productive. They're all having good seasons to varying degrees. Chase Mydroff alone is basically at half of Garrett Crochet's, WAR as a guy who didn't even play the whole season yet. 1.4. We'll take it. Pesky. Kyle Teel, if you do a little, just like a simple WAR slap on what his numbers are, 2.6 WAR. I mean, we'll see what he does in the major league level, but that's not nothing. Braden Montgomery is a 1.1, but these are all partial seasons. So I don't know, say you double those numbers. I mean, we'll see. Didn't even have time, or I'm too lazy or forgot, I don't know, or didn't know how to pronounce his name. So I just ignored the pitcher, but he's still in the plus, even though he was sort of god awful starting in Birmingham. Now he's sort of got this like piggyback starter role, or maybe they're trying to ease him back into maybe some kind of possible starting role. But aside from just vulturing a bunch of wins, like every win the Knights get, he somehow claims, which is a pretty awesome trade. The White Sox could use it. Just bring him up to see if like wins happen when he's in the game, because the thing he seems to do. So certainly the return for Crochet, although none of them are Garrett Crochet. This is about I think the best we could hope for. I would argue this is better than I could have hoped for. As much as we knew these guys all came in top of the system type of prospects, apparently making the White Sox like the second or third best system in the world. It's another thing to see them actually do it. I mean, we don't have to look past Colson Montgomery to know that, you can just assume these guys are stars or star level or fall stars or whatever. But it doesn't always work out that way, which is what makes guys like Tim Elko doing well, like a delightful little surprise, the house money type of thing. And, when guys you really need to do well, like Colson Montgomery, sorry, Colson, that's a bummer. That's a setback. So far, the 4 guys who've come back are all right. I suppose, how could you question what I just said? But I mean, just, I guess, more thoughts on that trade. I mean, it is encouraging that all these guys are producing at, upper level. Montgomery's already been promoted, and seems like, chances are he'd get at least a cup of coffee at Birmingham. I mean, that means we got 4 high-level players, including now a couple of major leaguers, for our ace.
Yeah, I'll do little callback to the beginning where you were saying that any player coming in should be kind of concerning, and any player going out might be a loss for us. But it is actually interesting that the Crochet trade has worked out, and it might be maybe a one-time defiance of that law. So it is nice to see. It is better than what I think a lot of people had expected to get four solid players for the price of one stellar player. And I think both sides are going to benefit. I see this as a fair trade for now. I know that 5 years down the road it might be reevaluated, but for now it's pretty fair.
Well, and the key for Jerry Reinsdorf is, I mean, the only thing that matters is the money going out. So that's a huge win for the White. You can get close to production of Garrett Crochet at a fraction of the cost. Oh my God, is that a win? Yeah, we're ignoring the big ownership news. It's not big news. We'll all be dead by the time that transfer happens. Sorry, not to be morbid. More thoughts about this trade, or should we move on to Hannah for the final pick? Okay, fine. I picked a dumb topic. Hannah, what you got?
I feel like we've covered everything pretty well.
Pass.
I'm not passing. I'm just trying to think. We covered a lot of stuff.
Okay, if you don't come up with something, you're going to have to choose the toilet bowl cleaner that looks delicious enough to drink if you're that thirsty. So that's the option here. You might have to pick somebody.
I guess what I'll say is I'm disappointed to see Oscar Colas leave and get cut. That was disappointing to see. He deserves better. He's got potential, and it's just sad to see that the Sox are not able to unlock it. But then again, they can't unlock a lot of talent. So wish him the best wherever. But that was unfortunate to see on the roster transactions.
Who have the White Sox last developed as an outfielder? I mean, you could say Louis, like Dan Plesac said, Louis Robert. You could say that, but okay, maybe we that's a punt, maybe, but I don't even know. Man, the White Sox are sort of bad at everything but left-handed starters, and they seem to be really bad at outfielders. The idea that we've got like 15 4A guys in the Major League outfield right now because we just cannot even. And then, we get rid of Oscar. Yeah, that seemed sort of rough. I mean, he did play his way out. Apparently, according to Pedro Grifol, he just had a terrible attitude. I'm sure we can just take that as gospel because he wasn't playing fast.
God, he was hanging out with Redacted. That's probably part of the problem.
Yep. There's a downside to having that scum on your team. It's obvious to all of us. And, well, okay, you guys are all brilliant. I'm just an average guy, and I know it. So if I know it, White Sox. But you better do favors to your minority owners.
Yes. As it relates to Colas, that was a disappointing way for his time with the White Sox organization to end. Just a couple of years ago, he seemed to be a pretty promising prospect, and then he just fizzled out. The 2023 was just a very disappointing season, pretty much from start to finish. Barely got any playing time at the major league level in 2024 because there wasn't really much of a reason based on his performance to put him back in the majors at that point. And it just, whatever the bottom 5 percentile outcome there, this seems like a very, very low outcome for him in terms of the spectrum of possibilities that there were. Really, up to 2023, he had hit very well at every step of the way. This is just, I think, maybe a combination of just the White Sox failing to finish the deal in terms of development, and I don't know, maybe some bad luck cast down by the baseball gods for whatever reason. A lot was, just hasn't gone his way since the beginning of 2023. On the a very, very brief upside to him is he did get picked up by the Angels, and Wednesday he made his debut for the Rocket City Trash Pandas, and he went 2 for 4 against the Barons. So yeah, he's currently got a 500 batting average in Double-A this year after one game. So yes, that is something.
Well, if we know anything, we know when old White Sox go to the Angels fix them. Well, maybe they're 1 for 2, I guess, this year. Well, it didn't work out too well for Giolito and Lopez either, but yes, we know the Angels are a franchise that just fixes guys. So, Oscar, you're in good hands. Probably better hands than the White Sox, but yeah. All right. Well, on that uplifting note, I guess let's wind it up. We've tapped an hour. We somehow did not choose which toilet bowl cleaner looks most delicious or whatever, but that'll be next farm podcast if we somehow find nothing else to talk about. But whether the format will be different. I mean, we had our full staff this time around, so decided just to sort of make it a wild card type of thing. Plus, it allows me to do even less research than I normally do, so that's a win-win for everybody. But we'll see if all 5 of us can show up again, and I include myself in that. This hat doesn't pay for itself. Then we'll probably do something similar. Otherwise, maybe we'll just drill down to something in particular. We'll get into the Oscar Colas story and why somehow Redacted was allowed to hang out with a young and impressionable player like that. Way to go, White Sox. Any parting thoughts from anyone? We've tapped out Zavala, but any other things we may have missed? You can use a third pick, and go off the board. Or should I just let Melissa get back to her minor league report for tonight? It doesn't end for Melissa tonight.
Nope, it sure doesn't.
Yeah, South Side Sox, Sox Populi, the gift that keeps on giving. And we hope you feel that way too, listeners, viewers, readers. We're here for you. Isn't that obvious? Anyhow, okay, I guess in about a month from now, we'll meet again. We'll review Joe Resis's Players of the Month. We'll review the terrible records of the system, and I'll probably have some rant. I'll use one of my draft choices on complaining about the terrible record of the system, and then all of you can tell me that I'm silly for that. And we'll lament players lost from the system like Oscar Colas. So tune in 30 days from now. We'll catch Kristina off piggybacking another podcast probably once again as well. Hardest working recapper in White Sox business over the past weekend. Thank you, Kristina, for that ridiculous amount of writing you did over the last few days, above and beyond. Thank you. Okay, the thumbs up. I guess
You're so welcome.
Good. All right.
There's no more rainouts.
Okay. Yeah, really. God, rainouts are just the bane of all of our existences. Okay, and nobody has actually vacated their seat. Like, Hannah's still with us. Kristina said, I've been thinking about this, and man, that was ridiculous. Goodbye. And Melissa, she could have easily been like, well, I'm sorry, gotta do the recap, and then just, we never hear from her again. Until she shows up with a spanking new license plate and showing it off at a game coming up real soon that I'm sure you'll be reading about at South Side Sox. Okay, Melissa, thank you. Hannah, Kristina, Joe, all of you out there listening, and the makers of this preposterous hat I'm wearing. Thank you all for being here for us. We'll see you in a month for number 62, unless there's some kind of breaking news. Can't imagine what that would be, but if so, we'll be here for you before July. Otherwise, oh my goodness, happy birthday to the country. Oh man, we will be so patriotic for that podcast. Let's all show up with bells on, hats ablazing in a month to celebrate our country and the White Sox system. Isn't that a combination made in heaven? All right, take care, everybody. We'll see you in a month.